Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay, so thank you all for attending. In the interest of everybody's time and respecting what we have going on as individuals and family members, we're going to get started on time. Others will be joining us as we get going. So first, I'd like to thank you all for making sure you continue being servant leaders around the state and working in your local school districts in the capacity that you do. So thank you very much. Just a brief agenda of what we're going to be going over. And for those of you that just joined us, I'd like to remind you to please stay muted so that anything happening in the background on your phones with family, etc., remains private to you. We don't want any unfortunate background stuff going on. I just was recently on a Zoom that did happen, and it was a lesson in reminding others about Zoom etiquette. But here in a second, we're going to go over the contact information for our NMAA staff, our NMOA leadership, and our regional assigners. After that, we'll get into the PowerPoint with our softball bylaws and important dates, etc. After we go through that, I'll hand it over to Rick Carbajal, who most of you guys are very familiar with because he has been our rules interpreter for how many years, Rick? I know quite a few. So I thank you for what you do for us. We would ask that you please hold questions until the end, or to put it in the chat, and we will try and monitor that. And we will get going here. So moving along to our contact information. My name is Tammy Richards. For those of you that don't know, this is my 6th year at the office. I also oversee volleyball, our activities council, and multiple other roles, but the 2 sports that I oversee are volleyball and, of course, softball. Our commissioner of officials is Zach Stevenson. His assistant is Dylan Metzger, whom you guys know really well. And of course, our NMAA executive director is Sally Marcus. I'd just like to remind you guys that as the director of softball, I'd like for all of the questions pertaining to softball, coaching, rosters, max preps, etc., to be directed to me first. If it's officiating related, please go to Zach Stevenson or Dylan, and they can answer your dragonfly questions, etc., and making sure that any of your officiating and umpiring related questions are answered. If you have already gone through your local school district administration, etc., and feel like you haven't gotten what you need from myself, Zach, or Dylan, please feel free to reach out to Sally. We're all available. I put our cell numbers on there. If we do not answer immediately, we will get back to you as soon as possible. Just know that sometimes we can't answer immediately, but we will get back to you. For those that are returning in the role that you have filled in the past, you're familiar with our regional assigners. We haven't had any changes, so that will be good for carryover from last year to this year. Sam Gomez is our Northwest assigner. Richard Salazar is our Northeast. Mike Garcia is our Central assigner. In the Southwest, we've got Gary Galindo. And in the Southeast, we have Larry Grant. We have an amazing group of assigners, very strong and knowledgeable and easy to work with. So I know they will welcome any information or feedback that you have once we start having our scheduled contests, and we can lean on them in ways that their leadership allows. So I'd like to thank them right now publicly for the thankless job that they will be doing this spring. And just as much as you can honor them and what they do, I know that they will certainly appreciate it. Moving on to our season in bullet points. Of course, the rules clinic is tonight. Your first day of regular practice and tryouts can begin next Monday. Had a lot of questions about that, and what I will try and do as a follow-up after this meeting, in fact, I'll make a note of it myself, is send the link out to our NMAA calendar, which has all of the dates that overlap our activities, our sports that are finishing up this winter, and the overlap with our spring sports. And the reason that's important is because you need to know when certain dates are outside of what we've got here on the bullet points. A lot of you guys have multi-sport athletes, and that creates conflicts as the seasons transfer from one another. So I will send out that calendar link to us as a softball group as well. First day of regular practice and tryouts. I had a question about the number of days required for tryouts, et cetera. All of that is set at the local level, but you cannot start the tryout period until January 30th, next Monday. Your Max Preps rosters and schedules. Most of you guys will have those accounts still, but for those of you that are new, for those needing assistance, please reach out to Tyler in our office or myself, and we can get you set up with a user account, etc. Let me check the chat. Kevin, thank you. Kevin, thanks for the update on the coaching clinic as well. I was going to mention that. So,
oh, you bet. I just didn't want you to forget.
No, come on. We're all a team here, Kevin. So that was going to be the grand finale.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. And, you know, before I finish, when I get to my questions page, why don't I just let you have a brief minute if you'd like to talk yourself, because you might have more information than I do. So if you'd like to do that at that time, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate it. I don't want to take up any of your time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that this Friday, Saturday is our second annual winter clinic, and love to see as many softball coaches there as we can get there. You know, if you're part of the membership, it's free. You just got to get yourself there. Some great speakers. Look forward to it. Coach Castillo and myself, we've worked together to put it together along with Buster and the rest of the board of directors of the Coaches Association. If you have any questions, feel free to, you know, put it in the chat or text me or Coach Castillo. And but yeah, I look forward to seeing all you guys there.
Yeah, having our rules clinic in conjunction with the coaches clinic specific to multiple sports, but our sport softball this week just kind of rolls out the season on our best foot and gets us all going in the same direction. Game limitations: 26 for varsity, 23 sub-varsity, 18 for junior high. That has not changed. Once we get to the end of the season, we'll do our seating and selection for 4 and 5A prior to our lower, our 1 and 2A and 3A seating and selection and start dates for those. So just use the dates here in the PowerPoint to refer to your calendars, which again, I'll send out that calendar link for all of you to review. And I don't see anything else in the chat yet. So we will roll into an important topic. I mentioned the number of contest limitations. And last year at this time, we had a review of our umpire registration in 2021 and current 2022 beginning of the season as of coaching clinic or rules clinic last year. And you can see that our numbers last year in each region started a little lower, but we were able to increase the number of registrations by the end of the season. So for those umpires that are on, thank you. That's another thankless job, and we appreciate everything that you do. I included our current registrations as of last night or this morning. Dylan, thank you for providing those to me. We expect an increase in those, and we know that those will go up. We just need it to be in a much more timely manner so that we can begin the season adequately staffed and with more realistic numbers, but we do know those will go up. Last year at this time, we knew that we did have some conflicts with our tournaments and availability, and it seems like we may not have any issues. But what I will ask you guys to do is you can certainly call me if you think that you have a tournament that might conflict with others, but the best course of action and the first place you need to go is with your building administration make sure they understand the scope of your tournament and how broad it's going to reach. Work with your local regional assigners to make sure that those can be staffed adequately. And then if we have conflicts, I will certainly help mediate with Dylan, Zach, and the regional assigner. But I don't think we have any big red flags like we did at this time last year. Rick, any comments or that you would like to add on our umpire numbers or any of our regional assigners, if you'd like to unmute and provide a little feedback on this slide?
I don't know if our central region assigners on or not, but we're hoping that those numbers will go up so that we don't have a shortage of umpires once the season gets started. So we're getting the word out to as many people as we can, at least in the central region. I'm also putting out information across the state as a member of the softball committee to encourage group leaders and other umpires to recruit as many people as possible into the sport. It is rewarding, and we're hoping to get more.
Gotcha. Thank you, Rick. And Richard, I see that you did note that Northeast is at 26 right now. So that's great news. Thank you for that update. And I'll check with Dylan on any updates from here. Just a review of the seating and selection criteria for those of you just coming in or newer coaches that may need a review. And with the bylaw change with regards to ties, if we get through all 6 criteria points to include finish in regular season district play, head-to-head, wins against district champ regardless of class, so you can play up or down. And if they end up being a district champion, then that gives you that criteria point. Overall record, Max Preps Freeman rankings, member school input. Let me pause right there. Coaches, most of you do a great job submitting this in a timely manner, but we do have some schools that that don't submit those coaches input forms. And of all the 6 criteria points, that's the one that you have your own individual control over. You see teams throughout your season that other coaches don't. So please have an informed submission so that your voice is heard. It is one of the 6 criteria points, and that's one data point that we're not going to chase after you for. That's something you need to take ownership of and make sure that you please submit. After we get through those 6 criteria points, if there is a tie between 2 schools and there is no head-to-head breakdown, sorry, I'm getting a lot of text and I want to make sure that these are not pertaining to the slide that I'm on. If there's no head-to-head and there's a tie coming through the seating and selection criteria, in the past it went to Max Preps rankings. As per bylaw change voted on by the membership, it now includes strength of schedule to be used as that tiebreaker, and that has had to be used already in our fall sports. So not sure about our winter sports and if that will have any impact, but please note that change. A lot of you are very good at doing your own seating and selection, because the only data point that is not public and that you don't have is the member school coaches input. Any questions on seating and selection before we move forward? Okay, we're trying to keep this short and sweet. Also, I will send this out electronically as well so that you can click on these hyperlinks, but I thought it was beneficial to include the hyperlinks so that you can actually access the data via the web, so that you can either print those out or have those available. Max Preps Dragonfly accuracy. Yes, there will be cancellations due to things out of our control. Weather, transportation issues. We've already had it in our other sports. We've had students playing through and really exhibiting grit and rigor and getting through, the little sniffles and colds and stuff. But we have had some schools that have had to go to remote learning and do what they need to do. So it is extremely important that Dragonfly accuracy is the priority. Communicate with your regional assigners. Make sure Dragonfly reflects any changes at all, even if it's just a flip on who's the home team, who is the guest. that will be traveling, because that might dictate a change in who's paying your crew. And we have had some crews that have experienced some difficulties with being compensated for the time that they've taken because of little things like that. So just make sure you're taking care of accuracy in Dragonfly first, followed by max preps after that. For the list of approved bats, okay, Shane, please go ahead and unmute if you'd like to talk.
Just to give you guys a heads up on the Gorilla Gold Grip, there are 2 different styles. The packaging that is legal does say NFHS on it. The one that says specifically golf is not legal NFHS.
And we'll have Rick go over that too as well. Thank you, Shane.
Yep.
But now that we're on that 3rd bullet point, thank you. We're a little bit ahead of that, but we'll get there. The drying agents are not allowed, with the exception of the Gorilla Gold Grip Enhancer that is packaged specifically for our sport. We don't want any unfortunate situations like occurred last year, which was an unintended consequence of situation, that there was no ill intent, but we don't want that to happen again. So I want to be very clear that if you do have any questions, ask for an interpretation during the event prior to possibly unintentionally discrediting one of our young players. We just want to treat them with respect and ourselves with respect as well by obtaining information that's accurate. Our lightning weather delay, the link here for the exact policy covers what I'm going to give you in a brief sentence. 10 miles, 30 minutes. You guys are aware of that rule. That is consistent with all of our outdoor sports. If lightning is within 10 miles, you've got 30 minutes. If you have additional strikes within that 30-minute count starts over again. I will say that we are all professionals. We all have to interpret the data and the information situation by situation. So I ask that both coaches and our umpire staff work together to come to an agreement that is best for the safety of all of our teams that are traveling and who we're putting on the field, because we don't want to put anybody at risk. So please make sure we're adhering to those standards. Our heat index calculator, this was really an issue 2 years ago when we were playing in June, but we have our southern schools and even some of our central located schools that really have to deal with heat issues in the spring. And, it's a big point of emphasis with a lot of our fall sports coming out of summer, but as we approach May, those temperatures get up there. So I need all of you guys to please put your best foot forward and make sure that we're not increasing the probability of heat-related illnesses. And please refer to the heat index calculator. We're all very familiar with the concussion protocol. As a reminder, coaching staff and students are required to complete this yearly. So for those of you who have multi-sport athletes that are coming into your program in the spring, more than likely they have already completed this certification and free course through the NFHS. Just another reminder to please mute so that we don't unintentionally get any family occurrences in the background. Concussion protocol for return to play is also included on the link that will be here. It's a state statute. This is something we're all familiar with, so I'm not going to beat this one to death. Some of our newer coaches may not understand the intricacies of the DP Flex. So that document also really breaks it down into what is allowed, and also our new umpires. And really, we could all brush up on it every now and then. I was looking at it the other day and went, oh yeah, I'm never going to pretend to be an expert on the DP Flex ever. You will never hear that out of my mouth. Awareness games. We've had some of our schools have amazing fundraisers, sportsmanship, awareness matches. please let us know. I'd love to send myself and JP or some other staff members out to honor you guys and recognize what you're doing. If we cannot attend ourselves, we will certainly, please tag us in all of our social media, and let's work together to make sure that we're able to promote in a positive way. Compete with class and sportsmanship. There's been a big push from the NFHS on benching bad behavior. You see a lot of that going out via email and social media. We need to make sure that in the sport of softball, our sport, that we are controlling what we can. Coaches, you can control what's happening on the mound, on the field, in the dugout. Umpires, same for you. The presence of a designated school administrator at your game is the preferred route, but sometimes you as coaches who also serve in an administrative role are that designee. So I thank you for wearing all those hats, but we need to make sure that we focus on the kids and we do what is right for the kids. And if there are any issues along the road with our sportsmanship, let's address those and let us know, and then we can definitely address those and mediate any situations that we can't. In the event that there are ejections in your games, those reports for our umpires in attendance here today, those reports need to be filed in a timely manner. We understand if it's a Friday night game, we may not get those until Monday, but the more time we have to effectively evaluate the situation, the better for students and the schools and their opponents that might have another contest on a Monday or Tuesday the following week. So thank you in advance for making sure that those are filed in a timely manner as well. And of course, our NMAA softball page. Hopefully everybody's familiar with that and we're able to communicate effectively. It is updated. I did check that with Tyler yesterday. So dates for all of our state events, etc., are accurate and updated. Postseason eligibility. Nothing new here. Students need to make sure that they are participating in 25% of the varsity contest. If there's any question about those that you may have floating, etc., please forward those on to myself and Scott Owen, who is our main eligibility guy here in the office, and we'll make sure that we have you guys covered. We've got the verification of equipment and sportsmanship regulations. By attending this evening, you guys are all verifying that you agree to make sure that your students are properly equipped, that you're training adequately, that you are providing equipment that is allowing for safe participation, etc. And you should all be licensed through the public education department. So please make sure that you're doing what your competencies on your license says as well. But your attendance is verification that you agree to make sure you're doing what you need to for our education-based softball programs across the state. And at this time, before I hand it over to Richard, I will take questions. Let me stop my screen share. Before we move on with Rick and our NFHS portion of this presentation, does anybody have any questions before we move on? I can see all of your faces now, and that's nice. Well, for most of you. All right, Rick, are you able to share your screen, sir? And do you have your PowerPoint?
I do. Let me
Okay.
pull that up here. See that?
Yes, sir.
All
We're good
right.
to go. And I'll
Okay.
monitor the chat for you, Rick, while you are going through yours.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you everyone for being on tonight, and welcome to the 2023 season. As usual, we always look forward with hopeful anticipation for a really enjoyable and pleasant season, doing what we love to do as umpires, and you guys doing what you love to do as coaches, and players doing what they love to do as players. So we will try and make this as quick as we can. I realize you have this is a work night, school night, et cetera. So we'll try and get this through this quickly, but yet thoroughly as we possibly can. We'll be looking at rule changes for this year, and then we'll be going from there into the major editorial changes for 2023. And finally, we will conclude with the points of emphasis. All right, this first slide, it talks about guidelines for schools and for state associations for consideration of accommodations for those athletes with special needs. And so this flow chart shows you basically what the procedure is in order to have a request approved for accommodations for those athletes that have special needs.
Rick, and I'm going to interject really quickly there. Coaches, you know, if your students have an insulin pump or other medical devices or cochlear implants, et cetera, which we'll get to that under the jewelry portion too, I'm sure, Rick. But anytime you have a medical need or an exception that you are seeking, all you need to do is notify me. Give me the student's name, et cetera, and I'll walk you through that on an individual basis. Once you request that, then a letter will be submitted. Typically, I do that within 24 hours of those submissions. Zach and I and the regional assigner are all on the same communication chain so that the regional assigners are aware and they can let local umpires know not to give anybody grief depending on the situation. The one thing that I will say is religious apparel does not require an accommodation letter, but I issue those just to be safe. But again, those are not required as long as they meet the specifications and don't pose a safety risk as well. But never will our umpires have any religious items removed during that contest, because we want to make sure that we are honoring anything that is happening in the situation.
All right, thank you, Tammy. All right, we'll move on now to the 2023 rule changes for softball this year, and this is a good one. I love this one. Last year and in previous years, gloves could be no more than 2 colors. And Federation has removed that restriction, and now they can be more than 2 colors. It's that was really tough for us as umpires, because oftentimes we'd go to a game and we'd see someone with a glove that had more than 2 colors with it, and we'd have to tell them that that glove was not allowed to be used during play, only to find out that, you know, their parents paid like $200 for that glove, and only to be told that it couldn't be used just because of the color. So I think Federation recognized that, and they made the change and said that it can now be more than 2 colors, like you see on the picture on the left. That one is red, white, and blue, whereas in previous years it would have had to be either blue and white, red and white, or blue and red. But it couldn't have all 3 colors. This year, they have removed that restriction. However, the restriction on optic yellow, color of the ball, still remains in place. So gloves, mitts, including the lacing and the seams, cannot be optic yellow or the color of the ball. And so if we see that, we'll have to have the player change gloves out, and so that they don't violate that rule. But this is a good thing. All right, for this rule, this is a new rule for this year. It wasn't in the rules previously. And so if an offensive player interferes with a defensive player attempting to field a batted ball while a ball is over fair territory, it is a fair ball. And so the reason for this is that this change allows the definition of a fair ball to reflect what umpires have always enforced as part of the definition of a fair ball. And it is intended to mirror the definition of a foul ball in Rule 225(1)E, which says that if they interfere with a foul ball in foul territory, then this is very much the same thing, only in fair territory now. So if there's interference by an offensive player and the ball is over fair territory, and that ball ultimately ends up in foul territory, it's still going to be considered a fair ball. All right, the best rule change ever. This one now says that jewelry is no longer prohibited. Okay, so we no longer, as umpires, we are no longer going to be telling the players that they're going to have to remove bracelets, necklaces, earrings, etc., any piercings, anything like that. That is now going to be allowed. And the reason for this is that the Federation Softball Committee, they removed that rule that prohibits jewelry, and it places that rule in line with other federation sports that do not have the restriction. I don't know what those sports are since I only do softball, but apparently there are other federation sports that don't have the restriction, so they wanted to line this rule up with the rest of those sports. So there is, however, the umpire still has a discretion. If he sees something that a player is wearing that may present a safety hazard, he can still ask that player to remove that item. Example, a bracelet with spikes on it, or a necklace or a choker with spikes on it. That could present a hazard, safety hazard, either to the player or other players involved in the game. And he or she still has that option, have them remove that. The use of electronic devices outside of the dugout is still prohibited. Now, players can wear watches. They can even wear smart watches as long as they are using them for just to check the timekeeping purposes only. They can't be used to receive messages from the coaches or anything like that. So that's still in place. But this, along with several years ago when they removed the requirement for umpires to have to check equipment, this is really a tremendous change, and one that I think that coaches, players, and umpires alike can all agree is very favorable. All right, once again, Rule 3.6.11 clarifies that where electronic devices may be used for coaching purposes during the game, and that can only be used in the dugout, cannot be used outside the dugout. All right, and this chart shows what the penalties are for that. So as it says under the penalty column there, unless it's judged to be of a minor offense, if it is a minor offense and it is judged to be a minor offense, then the offender is warned and ejected if repeated. So for electronic communication devices, coaches who violate that may be restricted or even ejected from the game for violating that. Same is true for any unsporting acts such as charging an umpire, etc. So just keep that in mind. This is a good change too. Now, for at the end of a game, all runs for a home run that will count. Before, if you had a bottom of the 7th inning, game was tied 0-0, home team is up to bat, they have the bases loaded, next batter comes up and cranks one over the wall, you got a grand slam. The rule previously said that the game was terminated with the go-ahead run, be the runner from third. Now, all runs will count. So all 4 of those runs would count in the final score. And I would imagine that could be important if there's a tiebreaker where it's a head-to-head competition, that may come into play. So just keep that in mind, that all for statistics, all of that, all runs will count for a game-ending home run. Again, Rule 8-2-7, this clarifies and further defines what constitutes batter-runner interference, and this includes while a fielder is attempting to field a fly ball over foul territory. So we talked about that earlier in the previous slide, and this Rule 8-2-7 clarifies that. All right, softballs. What you are using and what you have used previously, those balls will still be legal for this year. and for next year for the 2024 season. However, the changes that are indicated on this slide here will be mandatory starting with the 2025 season. So what are the changes? Well, you can see currently it's 300, the compression is 375 pounds max. The new change will be 325 pounds plus or minus 50. And also the weight went from 6.5 ounces to 7 ounces. So if whatever you're using now, if it's not under the new, what you see here, the new specifications, you can still use those for this year and next year, and they're allowing that extra time so that you can kind of deplete your inventory, so to speak, and any new balls that you may have purchased can still be used. But starting 2025, the new balls will be mandatory, 325 plus or minus 50 and 7-ounce balls. All right, moving on to editorial changes for this year. This one, again, the language was confusing, and the language used to say, you know, it was very wordy, and now they just changed it and said, while over foul territory, an offensive player interferes with a defensive player attempting to field a batted ball. So that kind of clears up a little bit of the confusion there. This one also was confusing, and we changed the wording on this one. Batter is out. This is Rule 7411. Now it used to say that a fair or foul other than a foul tip, not a third strike, ball is caught in flight by a fielder or such catch is prevented by a spectator reaching into the playing area, then the batter is out. They took all of that wording out of there, and now it simply says that when a spectator reaches into live ball territory and interferes with the fielder's opportunity to catch a fly ball, the batter is out. I would think it'd be pretty hard for a spectator to interfere with a foul tip. Points of emphasis. All of this is going to be dealing with sportsmanship. As Tammy mentioned, sportsmanship is of a high priority. I think we can all agree that when we go out on the field, everybody wants to have fun. Coaches want to have fun. Players want to have fun. The umpires want to have fun. And those who are spectators, they also want to have fun. But that level of fun goes down drastically when the sportsmanship goes down drastically. And so it's the idea here, Federation is really emphasizing sportsmanship. In order for the ideals of respect, integrity, and sportsmanship to occur, everyone has to be doing their part. And that includes coaches, that includes umpires, that includes players, as well as spectators. For that to happen, there's got to be a working relationship between the officials and game administration in order that good sportsmanship will be promoted and the contest will be conducted safely. So we all have our roles to play in creating a positive sportsmanlike atmosphere at contests. Now, we as officials are never to engage with spectators who are acting less than in a sporting manner. So if we hear things, a lot of times we close our ears to what's being said behind the backstop and in the stands. But however, sometimes that conversations, those comments can get to a point where we must take action. So we will never engage with the spectators directly. We're going to go to the school administration and ask them to deal with any spectators who are acting unruly and have them take care of that. In the lack of presence of a school administrator, the head coach of the home team becomes that administrator. So we will go to you, the head coach, and we will point out the individual or individuals that need to be dealt with. We'll tell you what's going on and ask you to take care of that. And in most cases, we will tell you that the contest will not continue until that situation is taken care of. But we want to make sure that you guys are taking care of that, and we won't deal with the spectators. Okay, as it says here, good sports win with humility, they lose with grace, and you do both with dignity. And that's one thing that we really want to emphasize is that the game is played, it is started, it is played, and it is ended with dignity, and that everybody walks off with their dignity intact. So, and that includes us as umpires. I mean, we have feelings too, and we have our own emotions, but we too have to keep those emotions in check. We have to make sure that we are conducting ourselves in a dignified manner when dealing with coaches, players, and spectators, and even each other as umpires. With we want to show that dignity. Okay, here's something that they also wanted emphasized, and that is the 60-second time limit between half innings. The rule says that you have 1 minute to throw no more than 5 pitches to the catcher or another teammate in the event that the catcher is still gearing up in the dugout. So 60 seconds. That 60 seconds does not start when the pitcher is on the rubber ready to throw those 5 warm-up pitches. That minute begins from the third out of the previous half inning. So keep that in mind. We are seeing as umpires, and I'm sure you guys as coaches are seeing this as well, but we have noticed, particularly over the last couple of years, that softball games are getting longer and longer in length. And a lot of that is due to player level, the level of talent on the field. And so some of these games are going pretty long. We've had some games that have gone over 3 hours, and that's just for a regulations 7-inning game. So we don't want to add to that by delaying the game, by taking more than that 1 minute between innings. If you're getting 3 minutes between innings and you multiply that by 7 innings, and even more than that because they're half innings, you're going to add a lot of time to a game that doesn't need to be there. So we will speed that up. We try to keep track of that. Obviously, we're not out there with a stopwatch clocking you guys, but we can pretty much tell when a minute is coming up. If the catcher is not ready and you need that pitcher to warm up, send another player out there, or coach, you can send your assistant, or you can go out there and warm that pitcher up, and so she can get her 5 pitches in within that 1 minute time frame. Oftentimes it takes, if the catcher was the last batter, made the last out, it's going to take her some time to get her gear on before she can get out there. We don't make an allowance for that. Okay, so if you want to warm that pitcher up, have somebody else go out there while the catcher's gearing up. But we've often seen it takes a catcher maybe 2-3 minutes to get her gear on. And when she gets out there, the pitcher expects to be able to throw over 5 warm-up hits, and we don't allow it. We're going to call the batter in, and we're going to go from there. And that's the reason why. So please be cognizant of that. And remember again that it begins from the third out of the previous half inning. And once again, this is just emphasizing that the jewelry rule has been removed, the rule that prohibited jewelry, and also the rule regarding the use of electronics, that's still in place. That has not been removed from the book. And again, electronic devices used in the dugout. They cannot be used outside the dugout. Again, as I mentioned earlier, smartwatches, they are allowed as long as they're being used as a watch only and not used to transmit or receive any kind of data from the dugout. So if if a player wants to wear a watch and it's a smartwatch, we now will allow that, and but she's going to use it just as a timekeeping piece only. All right, as mentioned earlier, foreign substances are not allowed on the ball, and that includes saliva. So if a pitcher licks her fingers, she's got to wipe her fingers prior to touching the ball. But there is one, and it was mentioned earlier, the Gorilla Gold Grip is allowed. That's the only one that's allowed. And as Shane had mentioned earlier, the only one that's allowed is the one that's marked National Federation of High Schools, NFHS. one for golf is not allowed. They can wear the drying agent, the towel. They can wear that. It can hang off the waistband. It can hang off a back pocket. They can wear that. We're not going to have them remove that. But just keep in mind that it is the Gorilla Gold Grip Enhancer is the only one that will be allowed out there.
Rick, before you move on, there was a question in the chat concerning the watches as an electronic device. And the question is, how is this going to be monitored? Who will check the watch?
Well, we're as umpires, we're just going to have to trust that the players are wearing watches. If it's Apple Watch or Android Watch, a smart watch, that we're just going to have to trust that they're using that strictly for checking the time only. It's going to be pretty much next to impossible if you've got 9 players on the field and you've got 3 runners on base and a batter, and they're all wearing a watch. It's going to be next to impossible to really check each and every one of them all the time. So we see that perhaps a player is checking her watch continually while she's standing on base, and we think that maybe perhaps she is getting signals from the dugout. We might check that and look into that.
Right, that's going to be for everybody to collaborate, not just the umpires, but the coaching staff as well. And we just need everybody to compete with class, please.
That's exactly right. So it's going to be more or less an honor system, and we do expect for there to be honor out there. So yes, you're right. Thank you. All right, for umpires, the Federation does have a site. The National Federation of High Schools does have a site. It's nfhslearn.com. That's nfhslearn.com. There are some really great materials out there that will benefit you as an umpire. There are some teaching aids. There's rule changes out there. There's a library of videos. There's courses that officials can take, and they have this for all sports, not just for softball. And so avail yourself to that. It's really great on your own time where you can actually help to improve your skills as an umpire.
And Rick, go back to that one real quick. I just want to point out that on this campaign, that is one of our basketball officials from the Southwest area, Aaron Trujillo. So that's why I kept this one in there as well, just to kind of promote one of our own that's used nationally to help advertise. Go, Aaron.
Yay. Yeah, good job. Okay, for those of you for umpires, we receive our hard copies of the rule book, the case book, the umpire manuals, the simplified and illustrated rules. We get those from NMAA. It comes as part of what we pay our dues for, and they send us hard copies of that. They also make available to us the ebooks, the electronic rule books that are also available. We can download them and have them. If you prefer the ebook over the hard copy book, as coaches, you can go to www.nfhs.com, or you can call them. You can download their app. That's the easiest way. Actually, I think the only way is to download the NFHS app, either through the Apple Store or through Google Play. You can download that app. The app itself is free. And then once you are in the app, you can purchase your rule books. They're, I believe, $6.99 for each book for the rule book and $6.99 for the case book. And it's great. It's searchable. You can search by word. You can search by rule numbers. This will allow you to have it at your disposal without having to carry around the hard copies. So this is a really good. It's a good investment. If, for $6.99, that's pretty cheap. If you go, I think you go anywhere else, they're at least twice that much to order them online. Okay, that concludes this portion of the rules and the points of emphasis. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, coaches, umpires, good luck to all of you. Have a great season this year, and I hope to see all of you on the diamond. Tammy?
Thank you, Rick. Really appreciate your expertise being lent to us yet again for some rules interpretation. I would encourage those of you that are also serving in the athletic director role to make sure that you purchase the rules books so that you have the electronic version available. I know all of our staff members and most of our umpires have that electronic version available so they can just pull those up. That being said, we also have a very large number of areas that are geographically isolated from cell service in our state. So the old-fashioned hard copy always is a good option to have as well. The questions that were asked in the chat have been answered with regards to why is the golf gold allowed and not the or not allowed as opposed to the other one, and it deals with the amount of tackiness and substance that transfers from the towel onto the user's hands. One is allowed in golf, one is not. One is more tacky than the other. Also, I believe the question, are books coming in the mail after they register? So if you are an umpire who registers as part of your local group, those are distributed by group leader in different manners. Sometimes they are, and Dylan, you're here, so can you answer that more adequately? Thank you.
Yeah, so on the umpire side of things, all spring rule books will be going out tomorrow. If your school ordered them for your coaches, those will be going out by Friday also. So next week you should see some books in the mail. If not, give me a call and we can get them going.
Yep. And some of it, Dylan, are we going to be delivering any locally, or are the central group picking up, or are those going in the mail?
All central group already got them picked up, and they're going to distribute them at the first group meeting.
Okay.
All right, Tammy, also one other thing that concerning drying agents, the question comes up every year. Can a pitcher reach down, pick up some dirt, rub them on her hands, and then touch the ball without wiping your hands? The answer to that is yes. Dirt is not considered a foreign substance. If it were, every ground ball would have to change the ball out. So yeah, they can put dirt on their hands. They don't have to wipe them afterwards. They just can't put dirt on, pick up a handful of dirt and rough up the ball with it. And then we have a defacing ball issue, and we'll have to deal with that. They can use it, rub it on their hands, and then go from there.
Hey, Rick,
I'm sorry,
Sandra,
what's the regular ball? What balls are we using? I'm sorry, I missed that slide.
Patricia, I'll send that link out with
Okay.
my portion, and that link
Okay,
with
cool.
legal balls is in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Rick, the same thing goes with picking up the chalk. You can pick up the chalk in your hand. You don't have to wipe that either.
Yes, that's true, because it's part of the field. And again, if every time the ball hit the chalk line, we'd have to replace it if it was considered a foreign substance. Right.
Okay, Zach, if you are on, if there's anything that you would like to interject before we end our recording, et cetera, for any of your umpires at this time? I know Zach's traveling, so Dylan, if you'd like to step in and have anything else at this time.
I know Zach's on. I don't know if he's going to be able to get on or not, but anything Dragonfly questions, I know you probably have a bunch. Please let your signer know, and then if they can't figure it out, let me know, and we'll get you guys taken care of. Dragonfly game time changes, please make sure you let your AD know first, and then they'll let the assigner know. If it's within the 7-day period, you'll get locked out. So definitely make sure you tell your AD, and then the assigner will let you know, and then we can make the change on our end. So that's all I've got for Dragonfly stuff. Zach, I don't know if you're on, if you want to chime in. And
okay, we'll go ahead and end this. And this is a record 54 minutes. We started on time, and my goal was an hour. So we beat my expectation.
Go Tammy, yes.
Hey man, this is efficiency. I got a kid waiting at practice for me to come and pick her up, just like you guys have. So thank you all. Please email me if you have anything, and wait, we've got a question.
So the last plug, sorry, it took me a second to unmute and get the hallway here. The last plug we would make, officials and coaches, recruit. Coaches, we do waive registration for students. So think about middle school games. And also for covering within your own sub-varsity, we can work with getting you registered on that. So recruit, so we don't have to cancel games.
All right, thank you, Zach. Sorry for interrupting the consortium and the meetings that you're on there. So
Quick question, Tammy.
Rodney, I was waiting for you to have something for us. What have you got?
Okay, long as we've logged on, you have us recorded for where we get credit for being here, correct?
So you're registered, when you registered, it asks for your name, email, etc. Correct?
Correct.
That once you log in with the link that was sent to you will tell me what time you logged on, who logged on, and what time you logged off. So that is what I will be using for credit.
Okay, that takes care of it.
But
Thank
for
you.
those that did not attend tonight, will be available for alternate credit until February 15th. All right, everybody, have a great evening. Appreciate what you do and wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Excuse me, Tammy?
Yes.
So I have a quick question. So I noticed that on the bylaws that it says that the teams are limited to 18 uniform squad members.
Correct.
So therefore, could I have more than 18 players, but have only 18 of them in a dugout that are in uniform?
As long as you are at so you are limited to a certain number in the dugout,
Is that
yes.
how it goes? Okay.
So, yes, so once we get to, you work through what you're going to in the preseason, that's the postseason limit. And I'll send that information out as we get a little bit closer. Okay, Coach?
Okay, so theoretically, I could have 19 players and then just.
And
sit
one's
that
a
one-
manager,
And one's a
out
manager.
of uniform.
Quote unquote, okay.
as long as they're not in uniform.
As long as they're not in uniform. Thank you so
Correct.
much.
Welcome.
Tammy,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, this is, I have one last comment, and this is getting to the lightning. Now, just because you should never let an electronic device take precedent over your judgment. If you see a lightning bolt, hear thunder, and the electronic device says it's 10.2 miles away, you can, and you feel that it's a danger, pull the teams off the field. I had this problem last in one of my games. Coach is telling me that I should learn the rules because his lightning meter said that he detected a bolt at 10.2 miles, and it's 10 miles. But in the umpire's judgment, if he feels that it's a danger, pull him off the field. So do not rely on use your own discretion, but your judgment takes precedence over an electronic device.
So yeah, Richard, thank you for your input on that. That's why I mentioned that it's a collaborative decision.
Yes.
Please make sure as coaches and umpire staff on those contests that you guys are collaborating and making sure that, the decision is a team decision, and to it's okay to have some discourse, but we need to walk away respecting one another and moving forward in a positive manner as education-based athletics are, so that students aren't affected in the long term. So,
Tammy,
yes, sir.
off of what you're saying right there, collaborative. If in the umpire's judgment, we do not feel it is safe, we do have the last say, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, best of luck, and please let me know if there's anything else we can do. Thank you for what you do, umpires and coaches. Remember, keep kids in the forefront and let's do what's right for them.
Great
Have a
job.
good evening.